What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. We continue here with our post-spring power rankings. The Big 12 is up next, and this is a really tough conference to rank. If you missed the videos, we've already done the Big 10 power rankings, the SEC power rankings. We will, of course, do the ACC and Pac-12 as well. But when you look at the Big 12, you've got two teams at the top, and you guys know the teams I'm talking about. If you've been following me or just following college football, you've got two teams at the top, and you've got a team that's clearly at the bottom, and then you got a bunch of teams kind of in the middle that really could finish in any order. I mean, there is a lot of parity in this conference in that middle pack. You know, we're talking about 7 teams that, you know, my team that I've got at number 9 could finish number 3. You know, that's how crazy it is in this conference, and I think it's going to be a really tough conference for those teams. Those teams are going to be fighting for, in my opinion, that number 3 spot. But let's get into it here. Let's take a look at where I've got these teams ranked. And again, I think there's an obvious number 10. That's Kansas. Kansas is probably going to be the worst Power 5 team this season. I mean, there's just not much to get excited about if you're a Kansas fan, except for a new head coach. And we'll see how that works out. Les Miles, there's a lot of excitement around Les Miles coming in here and thinking that he was going to turn this thing around for Kansas. Well, that didn't happen. Kansas didn't get any better. They were still awful. He's now gone. So we'll see. It'll take – no one is going to turn Kansas around in a couple of years. It'll take some time. We'll see if they can turn it around. But even just on the field, the roster, the production, they lost a lot of production from last year's team. So Kansas will be terrible. I think it'll be very tough for them to win a game, honestly, in the Big 12. Really, I think it'll be tough for them to beat any Power 5 team. At number 9, we've got Baylor. And like I said, you can go from 3 to 9, put them in any order, and I think you're not going to get too much of an argument. I think Baylor's probably the team here at number 9. With Charlie Brewer gone, you wonder about the quarterback spot. They've got some young guys that have some experience, but not really anything that's proven. The roster, again, I think it's going to take a little bit of time here with Dave Aranda. A different scheme, you know, everything's a little bit different here for Baylor. So they're kind of, they're probably at least another year away from really competing in this conference. So I think it's safe to put them here at number 9. I said these teams could go from 3 to 9. There's enough talent where this team could surprise. I don't really see it happening. I think just getting to a bowl game would be big for Baylor. And when you look at the Big 12, if they do well in the non-conference, we could possibly see 8 or 9 teams make a bowl game, because again, that's how much parity I think there is in this conference. And again, Baylor's not going to get blown out by every other team in the conference. They'll beat some teams probably, and maybe, who knows, they can get to a bowl game this year. At number 8, we've got Texas Tech. Texas Tech is really interesting. You look at the FBI, they have them ranked in the top 25. They've got some weapons on offense. Now they've got Tyler Shuck, transfer from Oregon. If he turns out to be really good, this Texas Tech team could, again, finish maybe at number 3 in this conference. I'm not sold on him. If you go back to Oregon, you know, he was okay, but I never really thought he was a great quarterback. Thought he was maybe overrated a little bit. But who knows? This system may fit him better. He may play a lot better here at Texas Tech. And like I said, they've got weapons around him. The defense is starting to get better. Remember a few years ago, Texas Tech was terrible on defense. They're starting to get better there. So watch out for the Red Raiders. Could be a surprise team. The FBI thinks they could be a surprise team. But there's too much uncertainty, just not enough proven yet for me to put them any higher. So we're going to kind of hold off on the hype for now and put Texas Tech here at number 8. At number 7, we've got Kansas State. Kansas State could absolutely finish at number 3 in this conference. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Like I said, there is a ton of parity here in the middle. I put them at 7, though, just because of the overall roster talent. They're just not going to be as talented as some of the other teams in the conference. They just don't recruit at that high of a level. It hasn't seemed to matter. They've still gotten it done. Chris Kleiman coming in there, really, he put this team right back where they were before with Bill Snyder. I mean, Kansas State is a team that you do not want to play because they pull off upsets. They're going to fight every single game. Deuce Vaughn is back at running back, one of the top running backs, I think, returning in the Big 12. Also, Skylar Thompson, he's back at quarterback. He's a veteran now, a guy that can really help them out. It's going to be a good team. Again, the Kansas State, I don't really see them getting blown out by anyone in the Big 12 this year. They're going to fight and make every game tough. But because of just the overall roster talent, that's why I have them at number 7. We'll see if they can overcome that and finish a little bit higher. At number 6, we've got TCU. TCU's interesting. It's hard. Again, it's really hard to figure out what this Big 12 is going to look like this year with a lot of these teams. Max Duggan back at quarterback. We thought he was going to retire from football. Was able to make that comeback last year. They've recruited, pretty well for in comparison to the other teams in the Big 12. But it kind of feels like Gary Patterson is starting to lose that. When they first came into the Big 12, they were up there near the top, and they, had some great teams, but it just feels like they've been kind of slowly going downhill. They haven't been able to really climb back up to the top of the Big 12. I don't really see anything that makes me think that they can do that again this year. They have enough talent. They could be a good enough team again to finish at number 3, I think, in this conference, like I've been saying about these teams. But I think it could also go bad for them again, and we could see them finishing in the bottom half. Just a lot of question marks for TCU. Not really sure what we're going to get for sure. It's been inconsistent. They've been very inconsistent the last few years. Can they put it together this year? Can they win some close games? Maybe finish a little bit higher? We'll see, but I've got them at number 6. Number 5 is Oklahoma State. Spencer Sanders back at quarterback. That's the good news. They've got weapons around him. They lose some veterans on defense. This should still be a quality team. I think the FBI actually had them in the top 10 or right outside the top 10. So this is a team that, again, can make some noise in the Big 12, could finish a little bit higher. I don't think that they're going to be on the level of those top 2 teams. And you guys know, I don't have to, it's no secret, it's Oklahoma and Iowa State. I don't think they're on that level quite yet, or this year they won't be at least. But they could definitely finish at number 3. And again, that's what we're saying about every single team. From 3 to 9, it could really go in any order, but I'm going to put Oklahoma State with a returning quarterback up here in the top half at number 5. Number 4 is West Virginia. West Virginia, I think, is a sneaky good team this year. I think they're being underrated. I really like Neil Brown as a head coach. I think he's done a nice job here changing the mentality of this team. They become more of a physical team, able to run the football. Defense is getting better. Seth Dagey is back at quarterback. They've got a talented group of running backs, a really good defensive line. This West Virginia team, I think, could be really good. I think they're a top 25 caliber team. I think, again, they're being really underrated right now. No one's really talking about them. They could be a team that pulls off a big upset. Maybe they knock off Oklahoma or Iowa State this year. Watch out for West Virginia. I'm telling you, this team has a chance to be pretty good. Number 3 is Texas, and I know it's the big name. It's Texas. Some people are going to say, well, you just put Texas up here because it's Texas. Well, because of the fact that it's Texas, they have the talent. They are right there, probably the most in the top 2. They're between Texas and Oklahoma. Those are the 2 most talented teams. They have the most talented rosters according to recruiting rankings and all that. But it's just, there's a lot of uncertainty with Texas, with Steve Sarkisian coming in. Are they going to take off right away, or is it going to take some time? How will this offense go? I think the defense has a chance to be pretty solid. At quarterback, you've got options there. I think Casey Thompson is going to be the guy. He's got weapons to throw to. He's got Bijan Robinson, who's probably the best running back coming into this season in the Big 12. So they're gonna have the talent, and if it all comes together, this is the one team. I talk about those top 2 teams, but for me, Texas is the one team out of all the other teams that could possibly crash the party, could possibly get into the top 2, could possibly make the Big 12 championship game. I think they're the one team that has that potential. Will they do it? I don't really think so. I don't know that if it's going to come together for them just in this first year, but it could happen. And again, they've got the talent. If everyone buys in, if the offense works, Texas has enough to be a very good team this year, potentially even a top 10 team. We'll have to wait and see. Texas fans, I wouldn't get too excited, but I would be cautiously optimistic about this year. Could really make some noise. Could have a pretty good year. We'll see where Texas finishes. But again, like I said, number 1, number 2, we all know who these 2 teams are. Iowa State here at number 2. It's probably the most experienced roster coming back this year in the Big 12. They are absolutely loaded. You've got maybe the best running back in the country. You got probably a top 10 quarterback in Brock Purdy, a very strong defense. 2 of the top tight ends in the country. I mean, you just go down the list here. Iowa State is loaded this year. They've got one of the best coaches, I think, in the country. Matt Campbell has proven that he can get it done at Iowa State. Even with less talent, they've been able to win a lot of big games. they're the team that if anyone's going to knock off Oklahoma this year, it's going to be Iowa State. And you go back through the last 10 years, I would say probably 7 or 8 of those years, Iowa State is number 1 in these power rankings because they're going to be that good. But the reason they are not number 1 is just because number 1 is that good, and it is Oklahoma. Well, this is the best, in my opinion, this will be the best Oklahoma team that Lincoln Riley has had since he has been the head coach. They are loaded on both sides of the ball. Look at the defense. I think that defensive line has a chance to be really, really good. Offensive side of the ball, Spencer Rattler, I think, has a chance to be the best quarterback that they've had in the last 10 years. I mean, he has that kind of talent. They're loaded at running back. They're loaded at wide receiver. The offensive line should be strong. Really, no weakness on offense. If there is any weakness on this team, it might be in the back 7 on defense, but I think they're still, I mean, they're as good as most of the other top teams, and they're going to be solid. And it's a team, I think, and if you've watched the channel, we talked about them finally winning a playoff game this year. I think they absolutely can do that. I think they're the favorites in the Big 12. And who knows, maybe this is the year that Oklahoma doesn't just win a playoff game, possibly a national championship. What do you guys think about my power rankings? Again, I will not argue with you if you want to change anything from 3 to 9 because I think it's that wide open. But I do think it's clear that we have the 2 teams at the top and we have the 1 team at the bottom. But what do you think? Give me your thoughts. Give me your power rankings down in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.